Build compelling real-time apps quickly and scale them globally with the PubNub Real-Time Network. Only PubNub delivers the core building blocks needed for any real-time application. Find out for yourself by signing up for free today. Visit pubnub.com.
I'm the founder of Hatch Labs, and we're an incubator that built mobile technologies in the form of products that make people's lives more convenient and fun.
So give me an example of a product that makes people's lives, in the mobile space, that makes people's lives more convenient and fun.
Well, one of the companies we built in Hatch Labs in 2012 is called Tinder, and it's been used very widely in the US and now growing overseas among people who want social discovery, the idea of being able to find each other. And the CEO we brought in to build that company has done a stellar job with his team in creating a user experience that makes it fun to find new people using your interest graph.
How do you decide on what companies to put to start or to fund or to grow? Is it a sector that you're going after, or is it a specific type of person, or is it just capitalizing on what's going on outside?
It starts with people. A startup company only has three things. It has people, time, and money. And time and money are fixed.
Some don't have money, right?
Some don't have money, but at a certain point they have some money, whether they're funding it themselves or they've raised a little bit of seed capital. And time and money is fixed. It's sort of known. You know how you can stretch it. But people is the elastic resource to be able to unlock innovation in a way, or even find a creative way of solving a problem when you don't have the resources you need. And that's really what entrepreneurialism is. So it starts with great people, and we look for phenomenal people that are obsessed with outcomes. They're focused on a problem that keeps them awake at night. And when you can take that type of problem and that type of passion from an individual, marry the two with money and time, and attract great talent, the world is your oyster.
How does this work in mobile? I mean, mobile is certainly right now, it seems like there's a gold rush happening here, right? It's speed to market and then speed to adoption from that market. Is there an equation that you guys used, between all of those things, the elements that go into an equation that you use to be able to decipher what a good company will be? What is it an enduring company will be?
It starts with a few things. One is we talked about the people. They have to be passionate with an unrelenting focus on solving a particular problem. It becomes harder to decipher if that company has potential if that problem is not known to the public yet, or to the users that are going to be using that product, because sometimes you can build it and they will come and they realize what it was like before that problem. That's where it can get murky. But we try to focus on opportunities where it's solving a problem for a large number of people and making their lives better with mobility. And the key thing about enduring companies is that they have a mission, and it's unwavering from what that mission is to how they task their resources and what they focus on a daily basis when they wake up in the morning. And if they can be clear on that, even if the mission could only be achieved a decade from now, they're making incremental, or in some cases step change progress toward that on an annual basis. So we really look for entrepreneurs that can look out for the long term, and they're not focused on quarterly profits and trying to flip their companies for an acqui-hire. It's not to say that that's not the right thing for certain companies if they don't have the potential to succeed, or they need heavy distribution and they're looking to sell their company. That can absolutely make sense. But when we embark on the effort of partnering with an entrepreneur to build something great, and what we've done in Hatch One and what we would do in our second fund, outside the previous structure of the company that we were working with, we try to bring together entrepreneurs that really want to change the world, and it starts with partnering with them in that process on all the dimensions we talked about, and not simply investing in a company that can hopefully sell to a large public tech company.
I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people talk about the investments that go in and the commitment that it takes to be able to build a product out. But it almost seems like it's equally committed to the team. Like investors love the team and then find an idea. How important is an idea right now? Because everybody has ideas when it comes to mobile. How important is the idea versus the team that you think can execute on it?
Well, I do think the idea is obviously very important. We get back to solving a problem. There has to be an underlying hypothesis that's the undercurrent of what the team is actually focused on around the mission to solve a problem for a given segment of users. If the implementation of that idea is incorrect, a startup pivots. In fact, almost all startups pivot to some extent. I've rarely run into a startup that hasn't pivoted. That doesn't mean the business model wasn't sound, but maybe they're improving the target market fit for a given product that they have, or vice versa. But the quality of entrepreneurs that you bring on, or the founder of that company, determines how well they're able to adapt to those changes that were unexpected. Or some changes that are expected, they know it's par for the course, but how they deal with that adversity and then make changes, I think, is absolutely critical.
All right, so a little bit of future gazing. What kind of companies are you interested in? What do you think that when you're looking out there, what interests you in what's emerging in the mobile space?
What interests me is what's happening with passive and active sensors, the idea of wearable computing. Right now, the smartphone is the center of most people's lives in terms of their communication, in many cases their entertainment, and you could broaden the definition of smartphone to say, a smaller tablet or an iPad, for example, right? A connected device, right? And the fact is, when we use the term connected device, now we're talking about any form of a connected device. They can understand who you are, your needs, your preferences in a given context or environment. And that's really where wearable computing comes in. The key to making all that information useful is not actually what the user is inputting. It's that compounded with the active and passive understanding of your environment and your intent. And I think that's where algorithmically in the cloud, we're better to understand we're better now able to understand what users actually want to do. And when we can marry that information with what they tell us and what they don't tell us, as we get better at it, we can make those services and products a lot more useful. And I think that's where a connected environment is going to make mobile devices actually transform into connected devices.
Do you see any companies that are at the beginning of this? I mean, aside from the hardware companies, yeah, I mean, there's the given ones, but is there anything that has really perked your interest on a software layer right now?
There's quite a few companies that have, at the Relay Ventures Strictly Mobile Summit, I'm hosting the panel where there are 3 companies that are doing fabulous things in terms of the connected home and using the smartphone as the epicenter today, and maybe that'll broaden over time. But what I would say is that the number of companies attacking this space are growing very fast. What's more interesting is whether the ecosystem that they'll be participating in will allow them to be successful, or will they create an environment where large technology companies say, I actually want to own that segment and I won't let a startup be successful and connect with my ecosystem for distribution. So I'm not necessarily naming one company, but I think the problem of how these companies plug into the ecosystem is far more interesting.
Well, it is, instead of single-use applications, right? That we're seeing we're in this single-use world right now. But what we're going to start to see is, and I'm very forward about this, is that when you talk about something like Square, about putting another device into a store, it doesn't really resonate with the store owner much as bringing it right into part of their ecosystem. How quickly are we going to emerge into that space?
Yeah, it's actually a perfect example. So you could add more POS equipment to take payments, but that doesn't necessarily solve the problem for the retailer or actually the consumer, because they're dealing with multiple payment platforms and they don't know which one to engage with, which one has the most rewards, benefits, leads to the most loyalty for the merchant, if the consumer even cares about that because they're getting rewarded on it, and may have the lowest transaction fees and the best fraud protection, identity protection, and chargeback rights. So we're creating more complexity with the number of startups that are actually coming out. But I think that as long as ones are innovating and creating an ecosystem, whether they're vertically integrated or plugging into the environment, the goal is to actually make things better and easier to use. If you apply the mobile payments example broadly to what's happening in the technology space, I think we're going to go through a period of complexity before we get to simplicity. And it doesn't mean that one company is going to emerge as the winner in any given space. We're speaking very broadly in a macro trend. But consumers will have choice of a few companies, but ultimately they'll all provide a better and simpler solution. But we have to go through a consolidation period before that happens.
Yes, I totally agree with you there. All right, taking a side step here, there's got to be something that's fascinating you, that you're using an application, something in the mobile space that you have a service that you have jumped onto, something that's completely fascinating you that is outside of the work that you do.
Sure. Well, I'm the founder of a company called Kleverbeast, and my co-founders and I built a company to make it easy to publish mobile apps across platform for people that are non-technical. So very quickly you'd be able to go into a SaaS environment and build a mobile app and have it be an immersive, engaging experience without having any technical skills or hiring the webmaster who built your website that doesn't have the technical proficiency to build it. So this is different than PhoneGap and Appcelerator. It's the idea of actually having control over your destiny to get to your mobile audience. So for example, if you're an artist or wedding photographer, you can actually showcase your portfolio within an app and not have to spend a lot of money to do that, just a very small monthly subscription fee. And I think this is exciting because for the first time, it's an opportunity to democratize the ability to access mobile apps and services for the mass market, instead of those that had the money and capital to be able to engage in mobile services and advance the mission of their companies.
Very cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.